Hello out there in Twitchland. The time on the clock reads 10:30 and it is Tuesday. So that means we must be ready to do some prepping in Fantasy Grounds. So I've been having issues with the um, one of my extensions that I use. Probably one of the first ones I ever used, where it tracks the hit points. So right now Fantasy Grounds just has your max hit points and then the number of wounds that you have. The extension I'm using shows your current hit points. So if you have 100 hit points and you're taking 20 damage, it shows your hit points at wounds at 20 and your current hit points at 80. For whatever reason, it's being weird. I also had my eyes dilated about an hour ago, so if you see me sort of trying to squint or move up a little bit or do weird things with my eyes, my head, that is why. All right, so first of all, I'm going to remove. If you load extensions, it's actually pretty easy. You just go here into your file, um, and it oh, wrong button. This one right here. This is your file, open file, data folder, and in there you'll see extensions listed. Once you download to your computer, you then copy it into that folder, extensions. When you do that, you can then see all of your extensions right here. I have a lot. I've been given a lot, and I downloaded a bunch. I was very, very leery. Um, if it doesn't, if it's not broken, why fix it? Was my adage. Uh, and I slowly but surely started adding some in. And now, like I said, I have after haven't been given some. I also have a bunch now. Hey, Drake. Um, not messing with Unity in where? I don't understand the question. I am looking at switching to Unity since it's been successful with you and Maticuri. Um, you have a Unity extension classic. Yeah, that's what when I downloaded it, that's what came with it. The critically awesome Diablo Bob stuff. Awesome Essentials is for Unity. Um, I could probably delete it from here and move it over to the Unity one, but it's I haven't messed with it yet. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my hit points. So we're going to remove that extension. It's more annoying than anything else. Like I said, it's one of my earliest ones. If I can find it. Current hit points. Click. All right. So, and the frustrating thing about this concept is that I like that a lot. It's one of my favorite extensions. Um, I am very good at math, and so I can just look at the wounds and the max hit points, and I pretty much know what they have left. But my players don't, and um, I work 10-hour days and um, then play at night and stuff. And so sometimes I just don't feel like doing the mental math. And I've used it pretty much for as long as I've used, and for as long as I've used Fantasy Grounds, I've had this extension. Like I said, it was one of the first ones, if not the first one I ever got. And so I'm just used to it. And I don't, if I have to get rid of it, I'm not going to like it. So the way to fix this type of extension thing is you make sure you have the newest one. So I'm getting rid of it. I'm going to do what I need to do today on the stream. And then after the stream, my game is Wednesday nights. So after the stream, I'll then update the current hit point extension, re-download it again, make sure it's updated, and run it, and we'll see how that works. Hopefully it'll work for us. And Drake says, Matt's new character sheet 1 does the same as current hit points. Yes, so I am using the new character sheet. So it does have on the character sheet itself the, oh, wait a minute. Now this is here. Okay, so I said it's been so long since I've used this without the extension. Let me see. So it looks like it's not max, it just says hit points and then wounds. Okay. Temp wounds. So I don't see what you're talking about, because this is his new thing, Drake. I don't see where the current hit points are here. Oh, max. There it is. Okay. Yeah, so on the character sheets, yes, it keeps track of the hit points. So let's see if we change this to 10. And yeah, so the hit points doesn't change. Okay, cool. So we'll leave it the way it is for now. Like I said, after I finish this today, we will, I'm gonna then re-download it from DM's Guild, or actually I think this is a forums one, and see if I have the latest version. When you do have a lot of extensions, there are rare occasions where some extension will clash with another one. And it might be some of Kent's McCullough's stuff, because I didn't notice it until I started using his things. But I don't know. We'll see. All right, so the plan today is, anybody who's watched my streams before know everything I'm doing here is homebrew. I will throw some pre-made encounters or things like that in, but for the most part, everything I'm doing is homebrew. So I have a couple encounters ready for these guys, the bare bones, and I'm pretty good at winging it, but I do want to add some flavor, add some little text to the upcoming encounters. So I went ahead and I made a new group here in my stories, because I have so many different things open, that this just goes on forever. So to find my stories easier, I have made a new one, and I also drag the one I'm using down here into my quick slot. So right now I'm using Rescuing Civis. And I've divided, so what happened was they rescued a druid named Civis, who was being forced to shape change into exotic animals with cool pelts. The druid was then being skinned for the pelts, and then the person who was doing that was selling the pelts. So they rescued her. When the bad guy found out they were coming, he said, okay, you want this person? Here she is. Boom, and gave it to her. They were still about an hour away from him, and so they decided to focus on her, get her back to safety. She is a 5th level druid. They don't really know exactly much about her, as far as what level she is and all those metagaming stuff, but she doesn't remember anything for the last several months. So they're bringing her to an enclave, a druid enclave, and gonna let her recover and see what's going on there. Then more than likely they're gonna go back and get the guy who had her held. The way I'm doing it as a dungeon master is, if you have this bad guy who's been around for hundreds of years, has this big empire, and has the power to enslave a druid and stuff, why would he risk everything for one druid? He knows this party is coming toward them. He knows they're pretty powerful. So why risk it? So what he's doing is he gave her back, said, there you go, take her. And he'll just get another one, or maybe even uproot and move somewhere else to make sure they don't come back and get him. But that's how we're playing it now. They've got maybe a week, give or take, to get back to him before he's gone. And it's not to say they couldn't track it down, but they don't even know who or what this person is. He goes by the name of Merchant Perun. And so we're going to see how this plays out. I wasn't really sure how they would react to his offer of giving her back. The way it worked is there was a bard that they encountered, but like I said, about an hour away from his house. The road split, and the bard was there just waiting. People, as this group went up toward the merchant's house, he stepped down and said, "Hey, the only thing down this road is this merchant's house, so save yourself the trouble and go back down that way." And through a little bit of a charm, one of the characters ended up telling the bard that they were after trying to rescue this person. So they went ahead and he then magically contacted the boss, who told him, "Hey, tell him to wait an hour." She showed up, and they did wait. They sort of fought back and forth, and eventually did decide to wait. I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit because I'm tapping into the red, and I really don't want to tap into the red very much. I want to try to stay in the yellow for my volume. All right. So that a couple of the characters wanted to keep going. One character mostly wanted to keep going to her, but the other group said, "Wait, if he knows we're coming, which he does, he may kill her if we keep going. So let's wait here." They did. I wouldn't have killed her outright, I don't think. But that's okay. And I have everything set up for his house, what's underneath the house, all that stuff. I'll have all that stuff ready to go. But that's the nice thing about Homebrew is if they don't have to end up going after him, I'll just use it for something else. They don't know what it was made for. It's not part of a campaign. So here's the Merchant Perun and all his stuff underneath his house, like I said, that never got used. So now we're on Civ is Found. I using a couple. I have a random encounter generator that Rob Toohey made, and I like that. I like the way it's written. And again, there isn't a brand new one. It just came out. I haven't messed with that one at all. I just know how this one works, and it works fairly well. So if I don't have a plan in mind, I will use this. The random encounter it happened to generate were invisible stalkers. So invisible stalkers turns out to be a pretty darn good choice at this point in time. The invisible stalker is a form of elemental that stays invisible, and a magic user summons them, sicks them on a person, and as long as that person is on the same plane as the invisible stalker, it knows where that person is, it hunts them down, and as soon as it kills the person, it can then returns to its master to either get another command, or it goes away, depending on what it's told to do. But my group has these where they kill the bullet, depending on how you pronounce it, the big worm underground crawling thing. And part of this module I was using has two things you can make from the bodies of. boulets. One are magical earplugs that'll give you tremor sense, and the other one are these boots of leaping and jumping that you can make from the boulet claws. So they did those. So several of my party members have these earplugs that give them tremor sense. Well, it's raining right now, so as soon as they put in the earplugs, they were just bombarded with all this sound uh, of the rain hitting. So I played it like it was a uh, um, when you're at a concert, just cacophony of loud noise that hit them, and then they eventually the mind acclimates to that. But the point is, these invisible stalkers don't touch the ground; they're air, so you can't sense the invisible stalker using tremor sense. So they really were invisible to the group, and the group is not used to that, and they did not like it. That they couldn't tell anything about where this thing was. People were just getting hit, um, and then so they would move in, they would hit, then they would disengage. And leave, uh, and it was not fun. So they ended up knocking them both out, the two druids. So I had them flavored it that just out of spite, this bad guy sent the two invisible stalkers. Realistically, being extremely cautious, he probably wouldn't have. But hey, it was a random encounter. I liked it. I just ran with it. And so I have a player who knows everything about D&D, who's dungeon master himself, and has a really good memory for all the books and stuff. So he probably knows what they are, um, but his character doesn't, and he's pretty good at keeping the two separate. He doesn't metagame intentionally and blatantly. I'll put it that way. Um, his biggest problem is telling the other characters what to do. Um, but he's getting better. So anyway, we've got these invisible stalkers. They just finished that encounter. They don't realize it yet. They don't realize the invisible stalkers are gone because it's the end of the round. They left because the two people they were there to kill are dead, um, unconscious, and so they left, having fulfilled their part of what they were supposed to do. So afterwards, then they're traveling in planes right now. So I took a Sword Coast map and chopped part of it out, and this is what I've been using for most of the campaign. Um, and the party's right here. They're going to the enclave here, and about half an inch is a day's travel, so they have a little under a week to get there. Um, so I have two different encounters planned. One is a herd of Auroch, and the Auroch are these large beasts that are actually ridden by orcs, orcs and hobgoblins, um, mostly orcs, have herds of these war bulls, as they're called. And since I have a half orc and his mount is dead, um, this is a chance for them to nab one of these things and try to tame it and everything else. Um, so, but all I have right now is Herd of Auroch and the link to the NPC. That's it. So I don't see them really fighting this thing just because it would be like running across a herd of bison, unless they go for like the female, the lead Auroch's prize female or something. I don't see this really happening unless, or again, if they, uh, although I would see them as more aggressive a little bit more than bison. For the most part, they're not just going to randomly attack things. Um, and it just, these are mighty beasts, but they're not really that aggressive. They aren't carnivorous or anything like that. So there's really no reason for them to attack people just at random. So these are challenge rating 2 creature. They also would not be any kind of threat to the party at all. What is his? Their speed's 50 feet. So to get ready for this, we're going to set the stage, and we're going to just put in a little bit of flavor here. Unlock this. So they're going to see the herd from a ways off, just because where they're traveling is flatlands, the green fields, and these grasses. If you look here, this is all plains, and then here, this is the green fields even more. Um, this has scattering trees. This has virtually no trees. So I'm going to have it as they're crossing into, this is where the rocks are going to be as they're crossing from one into the other, into the savanna-ish looking place. All right, so the grasses are beginning to change into a more consistent kind of, boy, my eyes, like I said, I had them dilated today, so it's hard to, I have to sit there and try to figure out what's it called? It's a variety, I guess, or breed. I'm not sure what you call plant. As they move into the savanna, let me make sure I'm using that word correctly. If I'm not mistaken, a savanna is just basically big grasslands. Definition. And if you're if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're anybody else except Drake, you will be. So check me out Tuesdays, twitch.tv/Svenster77. Tuesdays 10:30. Tomorrow at 10:30 Pacific time in the morning, I'll be doing similar things with Starfinder. Right now, I'm in the middle of doing a lot of coding for Starfinder. So, okay, so savanna is a mixed woodland grassland ecosystem characterized by the trees being sufficiently widely spaced so the canopy does not close. The canopy, light to reach the ground, support unbroken herbaceous layers existing primarily grasses. Yeah. So let's see. Step, maybe step. Step. So this is STEPPE is more what they're as you're entering the step. Entering the step called the green fields. All right, so to start off with, as like a little teaser, the grasses are beginning to change into more consistent variety as you move into the steppe called the green fields. Off in the distance, you see a large dark spot on the horizon. As you grow closer, you realize this is a large herd. I'm going to get rid of multiple uses of the same word in the same paragraph. You realize this is a large herd. So this is a so to change something into a bubble that you share, it's Control 3. So now when you hit the bubble, boom, it just shares it down here. So this is something that the characters will see when they first see them. Then they'll do some investigating. They'll realize they're Aurochs. I'll have the picture. Let me go ahead and pull up the picture and put a link. So now I have the picture there so they can see it. Boom. They'll do a check, and I'm going to go ahead and put these as a read only. So anybody who speaks Orcish will have a chance of knowing what these things are. He will, the half-orc will definitely know what this is. And I am then going to presume with this group, even if it wasn't made specifically for orcs, or used by orcs, I should say, and they're not made for orcs, but they're used by orcs, this group would want to tame them. For all I know, they may want to each have one. Just how this group is. They love animals. They won't kill them. I had a troll, and one was really small. So I I said it was a baby troll, like a toddler. I mean, it wasn't a toddler. He was running around and attacking things, but um, it was definitely a youngling, like a child. And so they didn't kill it. They captured it, and then they brought it to an orc tribe to raise. Um, that's just how crazy these guys are, and they won't. They'll be attacked by these dire wolves or shadow mastiffs. Anything that's even close to an animal, they try not to kill. And they want to tame it, want to tame it. So, point is, these guys are definitely going to do something with this. I'm looking at them. So these get this creature. Looking at the NPC sheet, they have an intelligence of 2, but a wisdom of 12. So they're not very smart, but they are fairly wise. All right, so I think I will. So let's see how many there are. So I'm going to say there's going to be. So just going off the top of my head, some of the huge herds of bison, they said you could just see them covering the horizon sometimes. Back in the day before the Indians, before when the Indians were there, Native Americans were hunting them and such. Knowing what little I know of, like the African savanna and stuff, their herds of wildebeest and things could be 100. So I'm going to say there could be up to 250, 300 of these things. And I'm going to say I want there to be at least 100. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit /DIE. I'm going to say 4D75. So it's number 4, letter D, 75, plus one of my, oh, the plus used to be my hotkey for that offline. So slash DIE space the number 4 D75. So it's going to roll a random number between 1 and 75 4 times, add them all together, and then add 100 plus 100. So that's going to give me, all right, so the first one was 18, a 3, a 26, and a 23. So pretty low rolls. So there's 170 of these things. All right, so we're going to put up here 170 Auroch Greys. So we're going to break this down because the characters will care. So I'm going to say half of, let's see, I'm just going to roll a percentile to see what percentage of the adults are male. 21. Wow, that's a lot of females. Okay, so 21% of the adults are male. So 10% is 17. That's 34. So 35. So like 36 or 37 are male. I'm just going to round it up. 40 male. 130. So then that leaves 130 total. Of that 130, I'm going to say there are 100 and, see, I'm going to say of the kids, say there's 30 kids, 30 babies. We're going to make it another random die, so slash DIE. I want there to be at least 20. So I'm going to say, and there could be up to 60 babies if they had a whole lot this year. So from 20 to 60, that's 40. I'm going to say to 2D20. 2D20 plus. All right, so my rolls were 7 and a 3, so there's 30. That's about what I was going to do anyway. So that means there's 100 cows. So 40 bulls, use the proper term here. 30 cows, which leaves, 100 cows and 30 calves. It is the first of the year, second month actually of the year. So these are pretty older calves. I'm going to say the spring is around the corner, so these are almost a year old. Nine, 10 months. Again, these are just notes for tomorrow. I just have access to these type of thing. All right, so I have all the information for the NPCs. If they decide to capture them and try to tame them, it's going to be animal handling. If they have profession land animals, then they'll have a bonus. Might even give the orc a little bit of a bonus just because he's an orc and these things, and he knows about a little bit about these. And so The orc tribes they're familiar with, if you look at the map of the Sword Coast, this is not it. So if the Wood of Sharp Teeth is actually divided pretty much in half along this line, and this side's the Lightning tribe of orcs, and this is the Stonefist tribe of orcs. Both relatively smaller tribes. Lightning Fist is like 70, and the Stonefist is about 100. So they're familiar with both of those. They're actually members of the Stonefist tribe because they've saved their lives and done different things. Tusk, through a series of events, and is actually one of the heroes of the Lightning tribe from years past. Save the Lightning tribe. But so they wouldn't use aurochs because they live in the forest. But Tusk, my half-orc character, his tribe is from the north, and he has, let's double check and make sure I'm not misremembering. So in my notes, I like to keep track of notes. I have notes called proper nouns for both players and the DM. And so I have a little bit of information on the PCs. Tusk, father alive, and a brother who's training to be a chief. He's was raised by the Strong Axe Orc tribe near Misty Forest and Trollbark. So they weren't living in the forest itself. Also, I have in here Tusk's background. So, and the Primal Axe tribe moves around between the forest and the Misty Forest, and they raid the trade route that lies between the two forests. It's a larger tribe, and they have a home base in the Trollbark Forest where the tribe stores its loot. But because they're in constant travel and stuff, I'm going to say the tribe refers to the home base as Whetstone, as a lot of maintenance is done there. Okay. So the reason I'm looking at this, so yes, the point of all that is he is familiar with Auroch. The tribe uses Auroch, at least the chieftain, and some maybe they have like a cavalry unit of 10, 12 who ride Auroch, do scouting, things like that, when they need to travel quickly. So Tusk is going to know about them, and I'm sure in my PC mounts encounter that I keep for the group, pretty soon one of them is going to say, Tusk's riding horse is dead right now. He got killed. Pretty soon, I'm sure there's going to be at least one Auroch there, maybe more than one. And I'm totally fine with that. These things are going to be more sturdy than horses. They're going to be less flighty, and they'll be more used to fighting and things. And they can actually attack. So similar to a war horse, I'm going to make them train with them, and after so many weeks of riding them and using them, then they'll, presuming that they practice, they'll become like war horses, where they'll actually attack and things like that. So I'm good with this. The second thing they run across is a colony of Almirage. Yes, a bunch of rabbits is called a colony. They live in warrens, but they're called a colony. So the Almirage are unicorn rabbits. And what I'm going to do with that is, especially a couple of the characters are just going to go nuts over these things. I'm going to have the druid they rescued come back into the camp with carrying a couple of these by the horns dead for dinner. I am then guessing that the couple of the groups are, couple within the group at least, are going to want some as a pet. The thing is, with the Almirage, I don't have the book they're from, which, if I'm not mistaken, is Tomb of Annihilation. So I need to build this NPC. And it's actually not that hard to do, to build an NPC. So you go into your NPCs. I'm actually going to, let's take a look and see. I don't think I have a slot. No, I don't have a slot for them. So uncategorized is where there will be. I have a lot that I've made myself. Yeah, the abominable Yeti Xenomorph. He's a half Mind Flayer, half Yeti. He was fun. All right, so let's find the Almirage 5e. I don't think they were in any other books anyway. And then I will take him. Okay, wrong link. Let's go back. And yes, these things can be used as familiars. It says so specifically in the book they're in. So let's go one step further. Almirage stat block. Boy, my typing is terrible today. I'm going to blame it on the fact that my eyes are dilated, so I can't type now. All right, so what I'm going to do is just going to slide this over to where I can see it. So they are small. Type is a beast. Unaligned. AC is 13. Natural armor. Hit points is 1d6. Speed is 50 feet. All right, strength is 2. Dex is 16. Con is 10. Intelligence is 2. I'm going to make that just a little bit better. I'm going to make him a 6. And wisdom is 14. Charisma is 10. I'm going to make that charisma a little bit higher. 12. I don't have any kind of special saving throws, or they have. Oh, they have a stealth plus 5. Okay, I lied. So perception. And I'm gonna have to change that hotkey because I use the plus symbol quite a bit. And then stealth. Jump down to senses. They have dark vision. of 30 feet. Passive perception. $14. How did I get 14? Okay, so they're giving them a bonus to perception. Oh, their perception is 4. Dumbass. Alright, they don't have any languages. The challenge is 0. And they were 10 points. So it's not really a trait, but we'll put 2 traits. 1, 2. One is familiar. And that is simply that with the DM's permission, the find familiar spell can summon an Almirage. And then the second one is Keen Senses. Which simply means they have advantage. Wisdom checks that rely on hearing or sound. And the last thing we need is their action. And they have a horn. And I was correct. This is from the, for one who, sorry guys, just reminding you what we're working on. The Almirage from the Tomb of Annihilation. I have all of the Dungeons and Dragons campaign, not campaign, but source books. But I do not have the a lot of the campaign modules. All right, so that's coded correct. How you can know if it's coded correctly is it'll change. So we can now double click that, and it will attack, damage, also changes. So that's how we know that's correct. And so now we close it. I don't have a token for it, but I'm not going to bore you because you can't see what I'm doing when I make the token. But I'll make a token for this and add that later. Right now, I think I'm just going to throw in like a rabbit, put a Yoda token. Alright, so I don't have a rabbit. I do. So we're going to throw the rabbit in there for the second. By tomorrow night, I'll have the correct token in there. I don't know that they'll be able to get through this. Again, I can't guarantee 100% that they're going to want these guys, but with my group, I have an idea that they're probably going to want one of these things. One of them has a color of command that they've never used. So the color of command is such that it will so let me show you what this is. This is something that I made for them because of what they are, how they continue to, here it is. So the color of command is something I made, and it's the wielder gains proficiency in animal handling and nature. This color allows the wielder to control a beast of challenge rating 1 or lower. The beast will not willingly go beyond 100 feet of the wielder. And then if it does, it gets a save, and the color falls off, and the beast reverts to its normal state. The color allows the wearer to understand basic commands given by the wielder, and the beast will follow basic commands to the best of its ability. So they can use this collar for the Almirage and get one for free. They can't use it on the Aurochs, because the Aurochs are challenge rating 2. All right, so we've got this built. I'm going to go ahead and link it in my story. I also want to put the image on here as well. There we go. So now they have the image within the NPC sheet. And the nice thing is you can just share this sheet with the character by dragging it over to their portrait, and that'll pop up on their screen. And then they can manipulate the attack and stuff like that, or at least look at it and see what it does and everything else. They can drop it into their hotkeys down at the bottom as well, and that way they'll have it whenever they want it. So if you hit enter anytime there's a link like this, it'll add a link to the next line. So it's just a matter of hitting Control and 1. That'll change it to normal text. All right, so again, I think just for flavor, the flames of the campfire. Snap as the names of the flames of the campfire cause the burning wood to snap as Civis steps into the flattened area of grass the party has set up as their campsite. And it doesn't need to be campfire, just the flames of the flames. What else would it be? I'm gonna leave it there where it is. Prepositional phrase. We could say the campfire flames caused the burning wood to snap. More succinct. Campfire flame caused the burning wood to snap as Civis steps into the flattened area of the grass. The party has up as their campsite. She tosses small corpse to the ground at her feet and moves to adjust outside the firelight and begins. What is it? What's it called when they you're not skinning it, you're getting it ready to eat, which might include skinning it. And in this case, because it's rabbit fur, she would be including that, skinning it. But is it preparing? I guess. I think there's an actual word for when you skin and disembowel and all that stuff and get it ready to be eaten. get the meat for it. I'm just going to say skin. Begins to, I'm going to say prepare. Right, she tosses a small corpse to the ground at her feet and moves just outside the firelight with a second one in her hands. As she begins to, it's not slaughter either because it's, boy, it's, just don't know. It's not a hunter. So never really had the desire. I'm really good with a rifle and an arrow, a bow and arrow, but I just never really hunted, so I'm not really sure of all the terms. Anyway, as she begins to prepare to skin the animal, you notice they are horned rabbits. They're jackalopes. No, they aren't. Okay, so again, we're going to make this control 3. All right, and again, that's pretty much all I need. I've got a group of them. So let's determine what size of a warren colony there is here. I'm going to say that I want there to be at least a dozen. I'm going to say I don't really know much about rabbits again. Let's see what the Google says, and we can. How many rabbits are in a typical colony? All right, so I'm looking at this. Let me say in a typical wild colony. See if I can get an answer. All right. All right, it tells me about the size of the rabbits. I don't care. I just want to know. I know about the warren. Don't care about the warren so much as number. All right, so in 1 year, one doe can produce more than 20 offspring, with many of them breeding themselves. All right, so it doesn't really, it has tons of information all about rabbits and station periods and courting and sexual behavior. I'm not seeing a number. All I want is the number. And I'm just not seeing it. So they don't live very long, one, because their lifespan itself isn't very long, and two, everybody eats rabbits. So Um, and then it's talking about keeping rabbits. All right, so I'm not finding any answers. So I'm probably not looking in the right place. Oh, here we go. Fungo Man. Social groups vary from a single pair up to 30 rabbits using the same warrant. There we go. Look at that. Fungo Man. Thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Welcome. Not sure how you stumbled across me, but hey, welcome. If you have any questions or things about coding or what's going on, let me know. So we've got these Almirage. So if in normal life, we're looking at 30 rabbits in the same thing. Let's go ahead and um, so we're doing slash DIE. I said I want there to be at least a dozen, and I'll say there can be up to the very max. We'll say 40. So, uh, oh, you're in the Heroes Wanted Discord. Looking to switch over to Fantasy Grounds. Yeah, so I have a lot of not a lot, but I have a handful of videos on YouTube. Just search for Spencer77 and you'll find them. I use this Fantasy Grounds for D&D and for um, Starfinder. I personally prefer it. Uh, the learning curve seems to be a lot easier than Roll20 just because there's Fantasy Grounds seems to do a lot for you. I haven't used Roll20 myself personally, but I listen to a lot of podcasts and I've watched a lot of videos of people using Roll20. Um, as a player, it seems a lot friendlier for the Fantasy Ground scenes, and I've also talked with briefly a couple people who used Roll20 before and have switched over to Fantasy Grounds. Um, if you're looking at Fantasy Grounds Unity, there is a lot more work for the Dungeon Master. So I would suggest you switch to Fantasy Grounds Classic first and get used to that. Um, as far as the player is concerned, Unity and Classic, there is virtually very little difference at all. The only difference is in how you move. In Fantasy Ground Classic, you can lock it, and so it shows the route. Um, right now in Fantasy Grounds Unity, they don't lock the tokens. But other than that, there's virtually no difference from a player standpoint. From a GM standpoint, if you're using pre-built adventures that are published adventures and things like that, then a lot of your work is done for you. So that would be the way to go to start with Unity. If you're looking at homebrew stuff, your classic is going to be the way to go for now, just because there's line of sight in Unity, like Roll20 already has. But you have to build all the occluders and all the different things on the maps if you want to incorporate line of sight into your Unity experience. So I would stick with Classic for now if you're looking at it. The nice thing about Fantasy Grounds, I'm not familiar with Roll20, but with Fantasy Grounds, as long as the Dungeon Master has the book and has the upgraded license, all your players can be free. So I have 9 players in my several games I use. So, and none of them pay for Fantasy Grounds at all. And the nice thing about Fantasy Grounds is you can purchase, at least right now, you can purchase the license and as a one-time forever cost. I paid for my license 3.5, 4 years ago now, and never paid another dime except for when I went to Unity, and I paid for that one, and that's it. I don't. So you say I'd almost certainly be using 5e if I switch. Specific question: can you make a deck of cards, rollable table, and multi-sided token? All right, so I'm going to presume there's 3 different questions. I paid some 5x for that yearly. Oh, I paid some 5 times that for a yearly on 5 times for yearly on Roll20. Yeah. Um, that is one of the benefits I like about Fantasy Grounds. And they also have this, you can just buy a month if you want to try it out first. But and since your players don't have to pay, if you have nice people, what we did at one point is we all chipped in and bought one of my DMs his lifetime subscription. So for Fantasy Grounds. So getting back to your question, can you make a deck of cards? Yes. A rollable table? Absolutely. And multi-sided token. So I don't know what you mean by multi-sided token. Are you talking about just the way it looks? If that is your question, then yes. You can make it to where if you look at my tokens here, you see there are some that don't have any border. This one here might be what you're looking at. If you see it has like little wavy sides. This one has it's not 5-sided, it's hexagon. So I have this one's 3-sided. So if that's what you mean by multi-sided token, yes. And what I do is there's a website called Roll Advantage, ROLL Advantage, all together, one word. Here's another one, multi-sided. And you just grab the image you want and make a token. And the Roll Advantage has all these different types of borders that you can choose from, and the color and how thick it is and all those things. So yes, you can make multi-sided tokens. As far as making a deck of cards, again, I'm not, okay, can you put all the guys with shield as one token, then randomly set each side so multiple mooks can look different? So I don't think I think the simple answer to your question is no, but still not sure I'm completely following you. Let me take a look here and see. So you want 8 goblins, each with the same stats, but each looks different. Oh yes, absolutely. That course. So what that means is, and the way you do that is actually, so we have what's called the combat tracker over here, and so when you have a fight, it throws everybody in this combat tracker. So I can take the NPCs. So let me give you an example of something I already have set up. I have an encounter set up with so my characters have mounts. So if you look at this setup I have here, I have a pony, 2 ponies. They have different tokens. I have a war horse. I have a riding horse, riding horse, riding horse, riding horse. All 4 of these are different tokens because that's actually a cow. So they have different tokens. So you can set up each individual like this and then put them on the combat tracker. Or the other way you can do it is, let me pull up encounters. So if you say you have, let me look here and see what we've got. Give me just a moment here. So when you drag your NPCs into the combat tracker, you can then change the token. So for example, we'll go with Kobold. So 1, 2, 3. It rolls initiative for them, so that's why they aren't all grouped together right now. All right, so I just threw 8 kobolds in here. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 of them right there. All you have to do is open up your own tokens. And let's just, to be weird, I'll open up my, So I have a lot of different tokens, as you can see. I'm just going to go with my items just to be strange. So say I want one to look like a tire truck, a truck tire. I can then change his token into that. I want one to be a M16. I mean SMG. There you go. So now his token is an SMG. So if I put him in a map, he is now the SMG. He is now the tire. He is now the regular Cobalt token. So yes, once the two ways you can make those individual tokens. So if you have eight goblins, same stats, look different. There you go. You can do it. You can just add them here in the change them in the combat tracker. You can or when you make the encounter, like I did here with the PCs, this is an actual encounter. You can change them here, and then when you then add them to the combat tracker, as you can see, like the horse here, it will be a different token. So that aspect of it is very simple. Rollable tables are extremely simple, actually. And there's actually, so there we go, quick. Tables. Let's see. Let's go with, so this is one I made for random NPC voices. So if they run across an NPC, I roll on this to determine what that NPC sounds like. And you can also bury tables within tables within tables. So like if you have like weather, so you can have precipitation, and then within that, if it can be clear precipitation and heavy precipitation. So within precipitation, you could then say, roll on this table, tell me if it's rain or snow or sleet or fog. And it'll then roll on that second table that's buried within the first table. That's one thing our Roll20 doesn't have, nested table rolls. Yes, we definitely have nested table rolls. I was trying to think of an example while I was talking. Oh, no problem. That's why I'm here. I don't mind you hijacking the stream at all. Let me see. I'm just trying to think of a table that has. I can just do this. So if within here, if I added this to this table, this is a color chart, is what this is. So in my table, in my options, I'm going to where it says dice manual entry on. So that's 86. So if I roll this chart and it says, what did you roll? I rolled an 86. Oh, now it's going to show me wrong. Oh, that's because it's still under my manual dice. All right, so let me do one better. Very quickly, I'm just going to make a new table. Create a table and just call it test. And the first one will be colors. The second one will be drawbacks. The third one will be treasures. Um, we're going to say we'll make it 4. So it's a 4-sided dice, and we'll add 10 cursors. Turn off the manual entry. So you see it automatically rolled. I rolled the 3, which meant that the 10 minor cursors, and it then rolled it again. Roll it, it then automatically rolls the next one. So it's nice, and it can get crazy. There's one that somebody built for random treasure generator, and so one of my DMs uses that, and so he clicks a button and it'll just sit there and it'll be rolling anywhere from 10 to 20 dice as it just going under treasure and minor magic items and art objects and things. It does tons of different things. So yes, it's pretty cool. So yeah, feel free to stop by next week. I'm here Tuesday 10:30 next week as well. And this Unity is the same thing. I'm like I said, I'm not as familiar with Unity. I played with it for probably 4 hours as a dungeon matcher. I played in it as a player for about 6-8 hours now, and I've got 2 games I'm in every week now that we've just switched over to Unity. So as far as tables and the questions you were asking, yes. You said the other question that I don't know if I answered was the deck of cards. If you're talking about images, then yes, you can import images very easily into like this Almirage image was one I pulled off the internet and put it into my storyline, and also now that I made the and I actually need to add him in here. Now that I made the NPC of the Almirage, I also had that image buried within the NPC as well. So yes, I also added a little token here. And I'm going to make a token of his face to add to the NPC. So Fantasy Ground does give you a lot of things you can do. And if you're using pre-made adventures anyway, then all of this stuff is done for you. And it's also extremely easy just to add to any pre-made adventure. If you want to add your own homebrew to it, tweak an encounter, all those things are really easy. Just within the options that you have, you can do stuff like max hit points for NPCs. You can roll them all, have the same initiative, or each one has its separate one. Things like that. So yeah, I think the more you mess with Fantasy Grounds, the more you'll like it. Even when I play in real life, I use Fantasy Grounds as a DM. I have it up. Some of my players have it on their PCs. I have large screen TV. In a perfect world, when I I have the large screen TV with the main map, and then each player has their own laptop with their character sheets on it. D&D Beyond does a lot of that now too. So D&D Beyond is good. The problem with D&D Beyond is, again, you have to buy everything as well. But as I've explained before, with Fantasy Grounds, I don't know Roll20, but I think Roll20 is the same way. D&D Beyond, one person at least has to have purchased the stuff. But as a DM, I have all the books, so none of my players have to pay a cent to play Fantasy Grounds with me. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's been almost an hour and a half, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Check me out on YouTube, Svenster77, and stop back by next week. I'll be here tomorrow messing with Starfinder. Oh, my pleasure, Fungo Man. I'm glad you stopped by. If you feel like following me, go for it. The only things I do is I have 4 streams. I have 2 on being a dungeon master or game master. This one using for D&D. Tomorrow is Starfinder. Thursdays I play Magic the Gathering Arena. I'm not very good, but I play it and I have a lot of fun. And then Sunday nights I actually play Starfinder, and you'll be able to see I am the game master for Starfinder. So Sunday nights we do that too. So thanks again for stopping by. I'm glad I was able to help you out, answer some questions, and I'm always happy to answer any questions you guys might have. I'm gonna get rid of these. So on this one, I can just click menu, delete from tracker, delete only foes. So that gets rid of all those kobolds that I threw in there. I've still got my friends in there. All right, guys. Well, again, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for stopping by, Fungo Man and Drake. And I'll catch you next time.